Thursday, what a concept. Tom Campbell from Isolation Station 24601. Busy old day on the Cultaholic YouTube channel today. AEW and NXT graded, your AEW TF moments later on, and of course, loads and loads of this here wrestling news. Shawn Michaels involved in a heated backstage argument at NXT Takeover in your house. We have an update on future plans for NXT UK, and a former WWE Star is in line for an NWA Championship match. Find out who in a little bit. Shawn Michaels in heated backstage arguments. If I was to tell you that headline in the late 90s, this story would play out very differently. But it comes from Fightful Select, and it took place at NXT Takeover in your house, where Shawn Michaels got into a very heated discussion with another producer about the Black Lives Matter movement. This unnamed producer was saying that everybody in America is treated the same. Doesn't know what all the fuss is about. Shawn Michaels got very angry about this and proceeded to very aggressively talk about systematic profiling and prejudice in America. It was a very heated discussion / argument that these guys ended up having. Now, nobody knew about the argument until the following day, because, you know, if you were to watch Shawn Michaels working that day, he worked perfectly well with the producer that had these very opposing opinions, and he's been credited for the professionalism backstage. And I know that seems obvious. Well, of course you should just be professional at work. That seems obvious, but this is Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, in the late 90s, had just this rep of just being very difficult to work with, quick to anger. On more than one occasion, stormed out of a show, of the building, of the company, of a conversation. So this is a very fresh and mature Shawn Michaels in this particular role. But it's a real hot subject at the moment, and this I'm proud of someone like Shawn Michaels in that position to be speaking up about it. And for people who don't see there as a problem, there blatantly is a problem. I'm not going to talk about it now because this is wrestling news, not here's Tom's opinion on stuff. But that's the thing. Shawn Michaels in a very heated argument about Black Lives Matter backstage at Takeover in your house. It's been a weird old time for one of Shawn Michaels' other projects, that being NXT UK. They've been shut down since March, and obviously we had the plans for Takeover Dublin. That show was moved to October. We were getting ready to get back to normal with NXT UK. There was some tapings scheduled for Glasgow next month, and a press release went out yesterday saying that those tapings have now been cancelled. So there'll be no NXT UK TV tapings in Glasgow next month. The next event in the books for NXT UK is Takeover Dublin in October. That's the only other thing going on. It sucks that NXT UK has kind of got the thin end of the wedge with everything going on pandemic-wise. Of course, we've seen like every part of the business is radically altered. Raw, SmackDown out of the Performance Center. NXT had to chop and change a lot of championships and situations with that. So sort of NXT UK it's kind of just been left ticking over. They've been doing weekly best-of shows with bumpers filmed by the wrestlers from their homes. Andy Shepherd's been hosting it from his lovely home. But it's just a shame that we're not getting any new NXT UK stuff for quite a while now. 2 title matches scheduled for next week's NXT. Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart are going to be teaming up. They're going to be facing whoever leave Backlash as the women's tag team champions, be it the Iconics, be it Sasha Banks and Bayley, or be it Cross Applesauce. Best name for a team ever. They need new tag teams for the women's tag team championship division. They do. So Tegan and Shotzi teaming up. I'm all right with that. There's some fun chemistry those guys have had together, and it's the second time that the women's tag titles have been defended on NXT. They are floating belts, as we know, so it's good to see the bounce over there as well. There's actually 2 tag title matches on NXT next week. The women's tag, as we've discussed, and the NXT tag team championships will be on the line as well. Fandango and Tyler Breezango going up against Imperium. Very intrigued by this match. It certainly felt like watching NXT that we were gearing towards Imperium versus Britann Brawlers. I think we still are. But this kind of feels a bit like these. It's weird to see Breezango in this role of kind of sort of old gunslingers, like going for an opportunity in NXT when when on SmackDown they were sort of part of like a comedy package. There seems to be, whilst they are daft on NXT, there seems to be sort of an underlying seriousness to them, and that should be a fun little match. Actually, it's all doubles action next week. On AEW Dynamite as well, the World Tag Team titles are on the line. Hangman Page and Kenny Omega going to be defending against the Natural Nightmares, QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes. There's some dissension possibly amongst the ranks between Rhodes and Marshall. Don't know if dissension is the word. Basically, Marshall and Ali sitting in a tree, KISSING, causing disruption. But either way, they've garnered enough wins to get themselves a tag title match, and that'll take place on Dynamite next week. Of course, everything that happened on NXT and AEW last night, as we said at the very beginning of the video, AEW graded, NXT graded, and AEWTF moments on the Cultaholic YouTube channel. This very YouTube channel right now, a little bit later on today. The ultimate perk of being an NXT star is your own chair. Let me explain. So once again, Raw and SmackDown is emanating from the Performance Center next week, and the tapings include Performance Center recruits adding the Atmos. However, this time round, according to Wrestling Inc., NXT stars are in the crowd as well. Some of the guys that you would see more frequently on television are adding to the noise. So it's a case of you won't see them because they are on the hard cam side, but the more people in that Performance Center, now that social distancing is being a little bit more relaxed and there are a little bit more people in, they're going to make a lot more noise. It's just going to bring the room up a little bit more. Plus, if you are an NXT star and you're on the hard cam side to watch the show, you get your own chair. So you can sit down and watch 7 hours of wrestling as opposed to standing. That's got to be inspiration for Performance Center recruits around the ring. You know, I look forward to the WWE documentary about Sizzle Montejig in 2032, who says, I remember being at the Performance Center, watching Raw being taped, stood up for 7 hours, and I saw Adam Cole sat down in a chair, and I thought, I want to be that guy. I want my own chair at these tapings, and that's what I'll strive for. Cue Creed, my sacrifice. It's beautiful. Paying homage to a wrestling legend who passed away yesterday, Johnny Walker, aka Mr. Wrestling 2, has left us. He teamed with Mr. Wrestling 1 for quite a while, but really made a name for himself in Florida and Georgia. 10 times the heavyweight champion in Georgia. Had a really, really memorable feud with a very young Magnum TA in Mid-South as well. He retired in 1990, but he did a little bit for the WWF, so chances are there's some stuff you'll find on the network featuring Johnny Walker. One of my favourite stories about Mr. Wrestling 2 shows true commitment to the gimmick. One of his biggest fans was former American President Jimmy Carter. Him and his mum loved Mr. Wrestling 2, and they invited him to Carter's inauguration. And Mr. Wrestling 2 said, as long as I can wear my mask. And they said, oh no, it's a Secret Service issue. We don't want anybody wearing masks during the inauguration. So he turned it down. He got an invite to the inauguration of the president, but said, because I can't wear my mask, I ain't gonna go. That is commitment to the gimmick right there. Johnny Walker leaves behind 3 sons. Sadly, his wife passed away in 2000, but cool fact about his wife, she used to make robes for Ric Flair. So chances are some of those beautiful robes that Flair has walked out at big shows were made by Olivia Walker. Fun factoid. Nothing but love to the friends and family of the late Mr. Wrestling 2, Johnny Walker. And finally, oh God, I miss NWA Powerrr. Oh, jeez. Miss it so much. Come back soon, please. Nick Aldis, very much the centerpiece of NWA Powerrr, the reigning NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, was interviewed by This Is Wrestling recently and asked who he would like to defend that belt against. And he's got his eye on somebody who was recently released from WWE. Nick Aldis says, the one that may surprise people, but I really have faith and could really make magic with, is Joe Hennig, Curtis Axel in WWE. I'm getting excited just talking about it, but Joe and I attended Harley Race's camp together in 2007. He just started wrestling and he was such a natural. I couldn't believe it. I was just so envious. This perfect footwork, takes these perfect, crisp, flat back bumps, perfect drop kick. I was like, I've been doing this for 4 years and I can't do it like that. If anyone saw the build towards me and Cody and the emotion attached to that because of Dusty and because of what it meant to Cody, that was genuine. It's real. And what it genuinely meant to Cody to get a shot at the title and what it meant to his family, I think a lot of the same elements exist with Joe Hennig, except with Joe Hennig, it's a real point to prove with him. I think two guys around the same age with very different paths, but sort of converging at the same point in time with this ultimate prize on the line, but both with real significant points to prove. I think it's pretty hard to go wrong with that. Nick Aldis versus Joe Hennig. Nick Aldis has kind of talked me into the room on that one. Who knows, when all this blows over, Nick Aldis versus Joe Hennig for £10 of gold, Sweet Charlotte, sign me up. I'm involved. Stay safe. Love you, bye.